What would you like to see from Brock Purdy
Yeah,
after the week?
that's clear. Running around less. I'd like to see him either moving to the right or moving to the left or staying in the pocket and throwing the ball. This running around a la young Russell Wilson is not who he is. That's what I'd like to see. How about you?
I would like to see that too. I think he's really good when he makes a decision within 2 seconds. Either throw the ball or run past the line of scrimmage. But the whole thing where he runs left and then does a little cartwheel and then runs right and then it's not you. I mean, you can do it, but I think more bad things than good things are going to happen for Brock Purdy and the 49ers when he plays that way. Like interceptions.
Yeah. Or he could get hurt. I don't
He
like
could get hurt.
He could get hurt. I'd like him to be a quarterback, not a ballerina. That's how I feel.
Yeah,
you know?
and scrambling is good, but that's a different thing. That's like playing. That's ballet. And you know what? There's no time nor place for that on the football field. Sorry, I had to say it.
There's no ballet in the NFL.
Yeah. It seems like he's trying to show off and show that he's more than just a mere system quarterback. Like, who are you trying to be, buddy? You want to be Justin Fields? Is that who you want to be? You want to be young Russell Wilson? Think about Russell Wilson. He could run around like that, and then he could throw the ball 80 yards. Brock doesn't really do that.
No. So you got Brock, stop it. As my mother would say, she was a teacher. Lowell, stop it.
Right now.
You stop it. Okay.
Okay, I think he got the message.
All right.
Okay, how about Kyle Shanahan?
Oh, okay. Kyle, I'm doing direct address now. You've done 8 games. Your team is really not all that relevant. You're not even in first place in your division.
Or second.
I think what you need to do, Kyle, is coach better. It's the funniest thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, these coaches in the NFL get paid a lot of money to win more than they lose.
Yeah.
And I think you got to coach better. Even if you get CMC back, I'd like to see you. What would
coach
you like
better.
to see?
Coach better. I definitely agree with that because so far it seems like hasn't coached well. And part of that has been like the lack of ideas and creativity. And if his only idea is give the ball to Christian a lot, that's not coaching well. And that's how we got in this position to begin with.
Yes, it is. Overuse.
Overusage. It's a usage issue, Dad.
Also, the other thing, and he's the head coach, it's a 60-minute game, Kyle. When you play good teams or crummy teams, you need to play not for 54 minutes, which is essentially what you've been doing, 60 minutes. So I'd like to see him, Kyle, 2 things, and write this down on your little tablet.
Write it down.
New ideas, 60-minute game.
Coach better. Yeah. That was great. How about Christian McCaffrey?
Oh, I know what I like to see from him. I would like to see him to be healthy and on his feet at the end of the season. My heart goes out to him. He is such a wonderful competitor, and he really gave himself up for the team. So what I'm hoping on a personal level is that when the season finally ends, he can walk away and have a good life and have a good football career. That's what I'm hoping. What about you, Iggy?
I like that. And I got a concept too. Tell me if you think if I'm wrong. I feel like the Niners got to earn Christian McCaffrey this year. They've been playing like a team that's like, oh, Christian will come back. He'll save us. What if you're not good enough to save? What he's going to come back and play like an all-time great player just to potentially rupture his Achilles for a team that isn't worth the effort? They need to actually earn him and show him that it's worth the risk because it is a risk him coming back.
Iggy, I love it, and I hadn't thought of that. That was good. You see, that's why you're very smart. So they need to earn the best possible Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, you don't get full Christian in week 1 that he's back. You don't get full Christian. You get a little Christian, and you got to win the game, not him. He's getting his feet wet.
That's right.
You got to win the game. And if you win the game with him getting his feet wet, then you've earned a little more Christian next week. Bonus Christian.
And so this is an address to the whole team, including the head coach. Bonus Christian.
Stop waiting for Christian to save your season. Save it yourself.
Save it yourself and earn him. Oh, Iggy, that's
Yeah.
the best point anyone made today. The earning Christian thing. It was good.
It came to my noodle just like that. I didn't think about it. I was sitting here and the noodle came to my noodle.
Came A+. I gave you an A+ on that one.
Thank you.
Anybody else you'd like to like to see them do?
Nick Bosa.
Oh, well, I want to say something in favor to praise him. Nick Bosa hasn't done anything stupid during the bye week. No, I want to, hey, Nick, I'm paying attention. Pay attention because I'm saying, before the bye week, you did two really stupid things. You said you weren't paying attention when Ricky Pearsall was playing, and then you did the MAGA hat while you were in a uniform, and you brought politics into football, which it never should happen on the 49ers. But to your credit, you haven't done anything publicly stupid this last week. Now, you may have done really stupid things around your family, but everybody's allowed to do that. I did it all the time. But I'm praising him for that. What would, aside from not doing any more stupid things, what would you like him to do?
Play better. I think Kyle needs to coach better.
Play better?
Bosa needs to play better. I mean, he leads the team in missed tackles. So when you get close to someone with the ball, tackle him. And then when you get close to the quarterback, if you tackle him, it's called a sack. Those are good. Now, Bosa gets a lot of pressure, which can be good too, but sacks even better. I would highly advise more sacks, less missed tackles, better overall defense, because that's what he plays.
So what you're saying is he gets close, but he doesn't close the deal often enough.
No, he's diving at ankles and then reaching at shoelaces and stuff like that, which looks good. High effort, but it's better to actually bring the guy to the ground.
Okay. I'm glad. I wouldn't have thought of Bosa. So I'm glad you mentioned him. That was very good.
Yeah.
Anybody else, what you'd like to see from them in the second half of the season?
Nick Sorensen, the defensive coordinator.
What would you like to see from Nick?
One creative blitz. One blitz where you say, wow, I haven't seen anything like that. They got that guy. That guy hit the quarterback. No one blocked him. How did no one block him? Wow, that was really good. I'd like to see that one time. You see that with other teams all the time.
It's true. So he's sort of
like watching a game and be like, man, that guy was completely unblocked. Happens to the Niners. How'd they get that guy unblocked? Oh, the defensive coordinator is real good. And they cut to the guy on the sideline, and he's standing there, and they tell his whole life story. He's really creative, and he'll bring the pressure. He's aggressive. They never do that with Nick Sorensen. They never cut to him during the game and show like the wheels working in his brain. They don't do that. I'd like to see that. Wheels working.
I think he has a pen behind his ear. I see.
That's a good look. I like it's a good start.
But look, Dennis Allen was known for the pen behind the ear, and he just got fired.
Matt Patricia, too. He had a pencil. Pencil was bad because we know you're not using. Who uses a pencil? You could break it.
Hey, Iggy, remember that time Matt Patricia, when he was the coach of the Detroit, and he didn't think the one reporter was sitting up straight enough in his chair? This schlub told him, sit up straight. Where's Matt Patricia now?
Is he even in the league anymore?
I don't know. Maybe he's sitting up straight.
He's one of these guys who was like in the league because Bill Belichick liked him or something. And now that Bill Belichick's out, you wonder.
Yeah. I don't wonder that much. I hope I never have to encounter
Actually, I don't wonder. That's one thing I don't ever spend time thinking about.
Like, I'll give you another thing I don't wonder. Like, what's going to happen to Dennis Allen? I had enough of him when he was with the Raiders. And then I had to endure him when he was with New Orleans. So he's another one. I don't care.
You know how Josh Dubow always has a great stat when something big happens?
I love AP Josh Dubow.
Okay, so he had this stat locked and loaded. I think he figured it out probably the moment the Saints hired Dennis Allen. But as soon as they fired him, he tweeted that Dennis Allen is the first head coach in NFL history who got fired from two teams mid-season while coaching the same quarterback.
That poor quarterback, Iggy, he's done too. That quarterback is done, right? Derek Carr.
Yeah, he's terrible. But it just seems like one day Dennis Allen's grandkids are going to be like, so like, how come you weren't more successful as a head coach in the NFL? And he was like, well, it was all Derek Carr's fault. They're like, oh yeah. So what happened in New Orleans? Did you get a new quarterback? No, I got Derek Carr again. I thought I'd give him a second chance. It just didn't work out. I don't know. I gave him a second chance, but it's his fault. I don't know.
Okay, I got another player, Fred Warner. What would you like to see from him in the second half, or is there no change?
I think he's been the best player on the team all season. I think it's hard for him to play any better.
Okay, let me ask you this, Ziggy. What do you like about him?
I like that he holds himself to the highest standard. Like, it's not like he wasn't the first pick in the draft or a top 3 pick like Nick Bosa. He was a 3rd round pick. He went to BYU. He's very much like a self-made guy. He's very talented, but he didn't play middle linebacker in college. He built himself up into the position, and I think he takes his job as more seriously than anyone else, which is why he's missed like 1 game in his entire career. I feel like I'm watching the greatest player at his position ever, or one of them. He's not the greatest linebacker ever, but he's probably the greatest coverage linebacker ever. And just to see what it takes for him to be him is impressive. I mean, you ever meet someone who's like, man, this is a very serious person? Yeah. He's one of those guys. Like, he's a grown-up. Is Nick Bosa a very serious person? I don't know. Thing he did a couple weeks ago wasn't particularly serious. But Fred Warner is a very serious person.
Okay, I got another follow-up. Fred Warner, who is more essential to the 49ers, Bosa or Warner?
Fred Warner. Fred Warner is rare. He's the best coverage player in the league, regardless of position. He has a bigger impact shutting down the middle of the field than any corner does covering a wide receiver, like statistically. Nick Bosa is just another edge rusher, a good one, but they're a dime a dozen. You can get them all over the place. Like Detroit, their guy went down. They traded for Zadarius Smith, who's also great. Like, you could get edge rushers. You cannot get another Fred Warner.
I agree with you. Next question. Is Fred Warner a potential Hall of Famer?
Yes, absolutely. Because he's going to be an All-Pro again this year. He could be a defensive player of the year. No, not Nick Bosa. No, he had the one great year where he was defensive player of the year, but he wasn't particularly great last year. He isn't particularly great this year. No, not Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa comes across as an extremely talented football player who isn't necessarily driven to be the greatest of all time the way that Fred Warner is. Like, I think Bosa has accomplished most of what he wants to accomplish in the NFL. He's won a Defensive Player of the Year award. He became the highest paid non-quarterback ever. I don't know how much there's left on his checklist.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I like the greats like Jerry Rice have this, I don't know what you want to call it, but it seems like they're never done proving themselves.
Oh, I love that point. Jerry, for sure. And I'll tell you, Joe Montana was never done proving himself. He went to Kansas City and he was really good. Joe was never done proving himself. I like that.
You know what I like about Russell Wilson? We both like Russell Wilson. Not the greatest quarterback of all time. Probably not a future Hall of Famer. Never done proving himself. What he's doing in Pittsburgh right now is fun.
Yes, and he's obviously a very wealthy man, but it means so much to him to be a good quarterback for a good team. And it's
as opposed to Jimmy Garoppolo, who was good at one time and now is very wealthy, and you wonder, like, are you done proving yourself?
Yeah. I don't see Jimmy as having any future in the league at all. Jimmy.
Yeah. But so Fred Warner, he is a Hall of Fame competitor, Hall of Fame professional, and those guys are rare. It's much more common to see people who are really, really talented and put together 1 or 2 great years, but can't follow it up.
Do you feel that McCaffrey is a competitor at the level of Fred Warner?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hell yeah.
I feel like he's as serious about his preparation and his diet and his exercise, everything, if not more than Fred Warner. The issue with Christian McCaffrey is that I think with some people, they can almost go too far with the working out And you know what I mean? I think he's 28. He's done so much. He's played so much football. It's at a certain point, his body was going to give out on him. And they're trying to delay the inevitable with expensive German treatments. And maybe they have, but eventually his body's going to go.
Iggy, first of all, I want to agree with you. I really admire him. And I don't know him, but I'm hoping he's okay. You know who he is to me? He's Tim Lincecum. Does that resonate with you?
A guy who was small and found a way to like get the absolute most out of that tiny little frame. And it took a lot of effort and torque and high stress maneuvers. And you knew what the end of the story was going to be. And it was still a worthwhile story.
And you admire Lincecum and CMC for their absolute courage and devotion. And
if you remember the Tim Lincecum era, he really was the best for a little bit.
He won 2 Cy Youngs. And Iggy, he was very quiet and he didn't really like to talk to the media. I don't know Christian McCaffrey.
Same.
But Tim Lincecum was a pleasure. Oh, he doesn't really like I didn't say he's very businesslike. But Lincecum, having said that, he was a pleasure to cover. He was a good guy. He was a pleasure to cover. And my guess is Christian is a pleasure to cover as well.
He's only been nice to me. And he's the kind of guy where like he's more interesting to talk to informally at his locker than during a press conference. When he goes into press conference, like he's almost been practicing for that since he was 2 years old, and his dad would be like, "All right, up against the wall. What happened on that 3rd and 10? Well, you know, anytime they bring in an extra guy, then you can block. Good answer." He's a little robot in those press conferences, but in the locker room, he seems like I can't say he's a down to earth guy. I don't know if he's a down to earth guy, but he can relate. He's relatable.
I like when they're relatable.